Welcome back. Now we'd get our hands dirty into actually creating a database, creating a collection, and then adding a few documents. So before we start using MongoDB, we first need to find out if MongoDB is running as a background process. So let's go to use Windows R, type services.msc, and you will see all the processes that are running in the background. Go down right to the point where we find Mongo, and we see MongoDB here, and we see that it is running. In case it's not running, we right click on it and then start it. Now that we know that MongoDB is running, we can start actually creating some databases and creating some collections and adding some documents. So we now know that the MongoDB, the CPU, in the CPU, there is a server running and that's called as MongoD. Okay. Now use the Windows button, type Mongo and open up your Mongo Compass. The Mongo Compass shows you the following details. We already have made the connection previously, so we don't need to make any new connection. We we have a local host. You should be seeing this because we have done this in the earlier video. I go to this point and say connect. Okay. If you had connect and you see a bunch of databases out here. Now here, let's go and add our first database. You'd see here, there's something called as a create database. So click on this button and it'll ask you to give the name of the database. I'm going to call my database the bookstore, and in that bookstore, I'm going to have a bookstore is a database which is a file rack, and within that file rack, the first file that I'm going to create, the first collection that I'm going to create is a collection called as books. 1 minute. Okay. You don't have to worry about what this time series is, etc. Now go ahead and create this database. You would see that a database has been created here. Now the local host has a database called bookstore, and in the bookstore there is a collection called as books. Okay, so we can see that we now have the collection called books, and this is the file. This is the file, and into this file we now are going to add some documents. Okay, in order to add some documents, we will use the add button. Okay, and in the add button, we are going to click on insert document. Okay, the insert document, as you can see, this is a JSON structure with the normal comment, and then you see the actual JSON document itself, and it seems to have some field already set up. Let's not use this. We'll see what this field is. This is a key field. This is known as the object ID, but for now, I'm going to take all of this. I'm going to do a Control A, clear this, and create our first document. I've already typed in the first document into my notepad. So here is our first document. The document has the following fields. Remember, we're inserting a document into the collections called books. And the first document, a document needs to have, is in the form of a JSON. So it has to have a left curly brace and a right curly brace. We must have key values. These are the keys. You have a colon followed by the value. Each key value pair is then delineated from the next key value pair by a comma, except for the last guy. So let's take this in, put it into our document database, the bookstore database. And what I'm going to now do is press a Control V. Okay. What I've done is I've basically created a document which is in the JSON format, which has a column called as title, a column called as author, and a column called as pages. Let's insert this. Okay, you can see that this has got inserted. We now see the first document that it has that has actually got created, right? Now we can add not just one document, but we can add multiple documents. So let's, in a single stroke, so let's again click on add data, say insert document. Let's clear up this, sorry, let's clear up this stuff. I'm going to go to 1 minute. 1 minute. A whole bunch of stuff that I've created. So some of this is okay. You can see here I am inserting multiple documents. This is the first document. Think of it as the first row. I'm inserting a second document. Think of it as the second row. I'm inserting a third document. Think of it as the third row. Each of these documents is separated by a comma, as you can see here, except for the last one. Now you know that these are a list of documents. Therefore, I have to, whenever, like you have in any other language, we have an array of documents. So an array usually starts with a square bracket and ends with a square bracket. So let's take this whole structure in, go into the compass field, add these. Okay. So now we are adding a list of documents. We've already added one document, and now we are adding the second document, the third document, and the fourth document. So we should be able to see here. Now we see 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 documents. We now see 5 documents that are there already in this place. Now, most of the times, we will not be using this interface. I only showed you this interface in order to help you getting around with the compass. Most of the times, we'll be using the Mongo shell, and we can open up the Mongo shell in two different ways. I'll show you the first way now, and later on, we'll look at actually using the Mongo shell late, you know, you know, from the command line. So go to open Mongo shell, okay, out here, clear up this stuff. Okay. You will say that it's saying test with a right arrow. What it's saying is there is currently you're using a database called test. First, let's see what are the databases that are available. Show DBS and then press enter. you actually see that there is no real database called test. It's only showing you that it is a default prompt. Now, what is the database that we created earlier? The database that we created earlier was a database called bookstore. So let's say we'll use bookstore. Okay. So you can see that we've shifted and seen that we've shifted to the database called bookstore, and we want to find out what are all the collections that are there in bookstore. For that, we can say show collections. Now it has one collection. The collection, you remember, is a collection called as books. Now, if we want to find out what are all the books that are there, or what are all the documents that are there in the books collection, the command is db dot books dot find open and close brackets. This is equivalent to saying select star from books. The rough equivalent of saying select star from books. And it will show me the list of all books that are there. You can see that we have a list of one. This is the first book. This is the second book. This is the third book. This is the fourth book, so on and so forth. Okay. So if we have to, you can also see one other thing, that every book, every document has a primary key inserted, which is called as underscore ID, object ID, and this is given by the system by itself. It's not necessary that we need to use the system's uh, book, system's object ID, or the system's primary no, object ID. We can create our own. Now, in order to find out the number of books that are there, we use the standard count db dot books dot count. We can see that it has inserted 4 books. So with this, we have successfully created a database, we have created a collection, and we have added a single document. We have added a list of documents. Let's get on to more details in the next session. See you in lecture 8.